If you think billionaires are just people who got lucky, think again. The truth is far more interesting, and a lot more terrifying for anyone who thinks money moves randomly. People like Elon Musk don't stumble into their wealth. They study patterns, anticipate global trends, and position themselves years before the rest of the world even realizes something is happening. And while the internet is busy calling him a weird little dweeb or making memes about flamethrowers and Twitter fights, he's quietly building empires that will define the next century. Before we get into Elon's specific moves, you need to understand the mindset of someone who doesn't think in months, quarters, or even years. They think in decades. They operate on probabilities, not emotions. While the average person reacts to headlines, billionaires anticipate them. They look at raw data, global trends, and emerging technologies, and then they ask one simple question. Where will the world be in 5, 10, or 20 years, and how can I position myself to benefit? This is why most people will look at Elon and laugh at his ideas. A car that drives itself, rockets that land themselves, tunnels under Los Angeles, and dismiss them as overambitious or absurd. Meanwhile, the smart money is already calculating the consequences of each move. Every time Elon announced SpaceX, Tesla, Neuralink, or the Boring Company, there were people on social media calling him crazy, foolish, or just some little dweeb with too much money. But those who watched closely noticed patterns that hinted at enormous financial opportunities long before the public realized it. Take SpaceX, for example. Everyone knows Elon Musk wants to colonize Mars. That sounds like science fiction, right? A little crazy. But what most people miss is the financial genius behind it. By investing heavily in reusable rockets and private space exploration, Elon positioned himself to dominate a trillion-dollar industry, years before governments and other companies could catch up. And while the public was distracted by headlines about launch failures or Twitter drama, the infrastructure, technology, and strategic partnerships were quietly falling into place. Tesla is another perfect example. While critics focused on production delays, controversial tweets, or the fact that who in their right mind would buy an electric car in 2010? Elon's long-term vision was clear. He wanted to make electric vehicles mainstream, dominate the renewable energy sector, and create an ecosystem of products that feed into each other. Every stock move, every strategic partnership, every technology investment was deliberate. It wasn't random, it wasn't luck. It was timing, research, and positioning. And this is where most people fail to understand the lesson. It's not about Elon Musk, the person. It's about understanding how someone like him thinks. People like Elon are constantly watching the world. They pay attention to policy changes, technological breakthroughs, market inefficiencies, and even human behavior. They notice things that the average person dismisses, and then they act. Long before anyone else is even aware there's an opportunity. Let's not sugarcoat it. Some of his moves are controversial. He's brash, unpredictable, and yes, often acts like a little dweeb on Twitter. But that doesn't change the facts. He anticipates patterns that others ignore. He invests before trends are obvious. He positions himself in emerging industries while the rest of the world waits for proof. And that's the key takeaway. You don't have to love the person to understand and learn from their strategy. Now, you might be thinking, this is all interesting, but how do I apply it as someone who isn't Elon Musk? That's the beauty of this approach. You don't need billions of dollars or rockets. You need pattern recognition and early awareness. Start by paying attention to sectors poised for growth. Renewable energy, AI, space tech, biotech, and even infrastructure projects. Watch announcements from governments, think tanks, and major corporations. Look at emerging problems and ask, who stands to benefit if this becomes a reality? For example, when Elon announced plans for Mars, very few people saw the opportunity for ancillary industries, private space logistics, satellite internet, asteroid mining research, and defense technologies. While SpaceX was the headline, these smaller opportunities were quietly growing. Investors who were observant and willing to research early could benefit without ever having to build rockets themselves. And here's the part most people miss. You don't need to blindly copy Elon. You don't have to try to replicate his genius or invest in the same companies. The lesson is in thinking ahead, anticipating trends, and positioning yourself before the crowd reacts. While most people wait for news articles, memes, or social media trends to tell them what to do, early movers are already in place. And those early movers almost always profit more. Let's be real for a moment. Elon Musk can act like a little dweeb on social media, make ridiculous statements, and tweet memes that confuse the world. But even while people are laughing, he's often acting strategically. This is exactly the point. The smartest investors are not always the most polite or the most predictable. Sometimes, brilliance is hidden behind chaos and controversy. And that's the mindset you want to cultivate. It's not about being Elon Musk. It's about adopting his thinking style. Observe patterns, anticipate change, act early, and don't let public perception dictate your moves. Look at industries that will benefit from emerging technology, global trends, or government policy. Identify where smart money is likely to flow and position yourself accordingly. You won't become a billionaire overnight, but you will stop being perpetually late. Don't get caught up in moral panic. Some people will say investing in emerging sectors is risky or opportunistic, and yes, it can be. But there's a huge difference between profiting from understanding the world and causing harm. By learning to read the signals, research trends, and anticipate shifts, you can position yourself without hurting anyone. You're not the one building rockets to Mars, but if the industry's taking off, why sit on the sidelines? At the end of the day, the lesson is clear. Think like the smart money, not the average crowd. Observe patterns, anticipate trends, act before the headlines, and position yourself where others haven't thought to look. You don't have to like Elon Musk. You don't have to follow him blindly. You just need to understand the principles behind his moves and start applying them to your own investments, decisions, and financial strategy today. Because while most people are laughing at the memes and tweeting about his latest antics, someone else is quietly observing, calculating, and profiting. And that's the difference between always being late and finally being early. If you found this video useful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.